In today's video, the key elements of a successful coaching conversation. Hello coaches! Welcome back to another 5-Minute Friday from Eduro Learning. My name is Kim and I have been an instructional coach for about 20 years and I am now the premium mentor for the Coach Microcredential and I run Eduro Learning. I am super excited to be sharing this particular video with you because registration for the 4th cohort of the coach is open now. It closes on April 12th, so don't miss your chance to join us. Everything that I share in this video is how every coaching conversation in the coach actually works with your mentor. This is customized exactly to the way that I run conversations, but this will give you a really great insight into the value of having coaching conversations as a coach and how you can use these elements of a coaching conversation in the work that you do with your teachers. As a side note, we also offer private mentoring, and this is how those conversations go too. All right, let's get started. To give you a little bit of background, this is the way I structure the coaching conversations that I have. Please feel free to take, adapt, adjust, and use any part of this that feels right for you. You will find a process that works just right with your personality, with your coaching experience, that feels natural and comfortable for you. This is something that's evolved over time for me, so take or leave what seems right for you. There are 5 key elements of every coaching conversation in my mind. The first one is to have an agenda. I personally struggle to go to meetings when I don't know what is going to happen. So even if it's a very simple agenda that just structures out the phases of the meeting that I'm going to talk about today, at least there's something there so both you and the teacher know what's going to happen during this time that you're together, and there's a space to document anything that comes up in your conversation. For me personally, I like to use a Google Doc and I share that with my coachee, so we both have access to the conversation and the documentation from that conversation. If you're interested, I have included a sample template in the description box below, so please feel free to download that. There's a PDF version that you can just print and use, and there's a Google Docs version if you want to adapt and adjust for yourself. At the beginning of that agenda, I always start with a little personal check-in, a catch-up, a reconnect, an opportunity to just see what's going on with that teacher, what's on their mind, how are they feeling, what is today like for them. And right alongside that, I also have an opportunity for teachers to share burning issues that are going on in their mind right now. Just basically that kind of brain dump moment of these are all the things I'm thinking about right now in this moment that are relevant to this conversation. From that, I go to our second element of a coaching conversation, and that is to set the focus for the day. Every day as a teacher is busy and there's so many things going on. So it might have been that we planned this conversation to talk about one thing, but several other things have come up in the meantime. So now is the opportunity to really figure out, based on those burning issues, based on the purpose for our meeting, what is the focus for today's meeting? And usually I ask a question like, what's most important for us to talk about today? Or what would you like to tackle first? Or even something like, what do you want or need to leave this conversation with? The idea is that both you and the coachee know in that moment the purpose of this meeting so that you can both identify when the meeting is over and that you've achieved your goals set for that day. Of course, this can be a normal meeting that's just follow-ups from previous conversations, or it can be something that is based on those burning issues for the day. Whatever the teacher and you decide is important to focus on for that day, that's the conversation. The third key element of a coaching conversation, and this is going to be the most obvious, is to listen. The hardest part about this is to allow for pauses and wait time to just let the teacher talk. So many times in the day, we are so busy with so many things happening to us, we don't even have a moment to sit down and think through what's going on. We don't have that moment for someone to just listen to us. So many of the coaching conversations I have start with the teacher just talking for a really long period of time about all of the different things that have happened either between our last conversation or just on this individual day, or what they've been thinking about based on their professional goals. And just that opportunity to have someone to genuinely listen and care about what they're talking about, that is so valuable. For me personally, it also really helps to take notes on what they're saying, because that allows me to go back to things that they talked about when I when it's time for me to ask them some questions. So if you feel that that's appropriate in your context, you could take notes in that Google Doc, which is what I normally do. Sometimes it's not appropriate, so you just listen. But if you have that opportunity to take notes, I find it's really helpful for me to go back and say something like, you mentioned that X, Y, and Z, or when you were talking about X, Y, and Z, you said both this, and those are contradictory. What do you really think? Just to give yourself some documentation of what was said, because sometimes it can be quite a lot. Having that documentation and listening thoughtfully also includes asking the right questions, and that's coming up in a future 5-Minute Friday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then I have a couple other videos that I will link in the cards above to help thinking about how to be a better listener as you coach. The fourth element of a coaching conversation is providing time for the person you're coaching to give you feedback about the experience. I think that sometimes we have very rushed coaching conversations because of our limited time, and that's the reality of working in schools. But if there is an opportunity to ask your coachee, what was the most valuable part of our conversation today? That gives them a moment to reflect on everything they've achieved, even if it is only a 20-minute conversation, because that deep reflective coaching conversation that you have can have really tangible outcomes that can help them be better prepared for the day or the week ahead. Another thing I also like to ask, again, if there's time, is there anything you would like me to do differently? I know that every person I coach is individual, and I want to make sure the process is right for them. So if there's an opportunity for you to customize your coaching conversations, you can grab that feedback right there in the very end of that conversation. My fifth and final element of a successful coaching conversation is to set the next meeting, to make sure you've got the next step in whatever you're doing to work together with this teacher. You might be deciding some tasks or some to-dos. You might be setting some follow-ups and clarifying expectations about who is doing what and determining your next step in working together. That way, everyone knows that that meeting was not only productive and purposeful, but there's more to come and you're working together over a period of time. Those were my 5 key elements of a coaching conversation: to have an agenda, to set a focus, to listen, to solicit feedback, and then to set the next meeting. Hopefully those key elements were helpful for you, and you can take and adjust and adapt them to your coaching conversation model in whatever way works best for you. If you're interested in joining the coach, please stay tuned for a little bit more information so you can see why it's such a powerful program for coaches, no matter what your level of coaching experience.
I'd really advise anyone interested in taking the coach to take the plunge and go for it.
So do it, and you won't regret it. Yeah, you'll really enjoy it. It's a valuable experience.
So I say go for it. Definitely take the coach. I couldn't recommend it more.
So I'd highly recommend it. I would definitely suggest you try and join to really help you develop your professional coaching skills. But overall, this course is fantastic because it's made me feel awesome. It's made me feel excited for my future. It's given me really great skills to help others, and hopefully I can help others to feel the same way.
So I highly recommend it.
If I were to give any piece of advice or message to future cohort members, it is to take the course. If you are on the fence, please take it.
When you're ready to learn more about the coach, click on the link below or reach out to us at Eduro Learning on any of our social media platforms. Registration for our next cohort opens soon. Don't miss it. Expand your professional learning network, dive deep into 26 weeks of curated coaching content, and get your own private mentor for an entire academic year. We can't wait to work with you. Are you ready to take your coaching skills to the next level? Join the next cohort of The Coach and make it happen.